So in January, I started doing paid ads, got a ton of leads on the calendar, and I went basically 10 no's in a row and just felt like I was just burning leads. And I just knew there was something off when it came to the sales calls and not getting them to convert. We started working together and then we were up at around 30%. And then now we're in May, we're looking at 37%. And that's also with pitching more of a higher price point too. So mainly the 2,500 offer for new people, but then going to a 4,500 offer as well. And just being more confident to pitch that and stick to that. So now I've got a few people on that number two. One, you don't know what you don't know. And chances are you're trying to get better at sales if you're even considering the program. And it absolutely will make you way better at sales. And a lot of people are really, really good coaches, but they're terrible salesmen. And they're like, man, I'm at 5% on my close rate. And it's like, maybe I should lower my price again. That's not going to fix it. Just join Austin's program and crush it.
So I'm here today with Jacob. Jacob, I know we just finished up working together and super excited to have you on. Kind of just wanted to chat through your experience and where you were at before you hired me, where you're at now, kind of a little bit about your offer and some of the big takeaways you had from working together. So I appreciate you taking some time to jump on with me.
Yeah, 100%. Love the program. So anything I can do for you.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. So we started working together Valentine's Day, 2024. So February 14th, which is great. Match made in heaven, right? It was meant to be.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I guess I'm curious, what was the one thing that prompted you where man, if this guy can just help me solve this, then I'm happy to work with him and I think it's a good investment of my time. What was that one thing you were struggling with that prompted you to hire me?
Yeah. So in January, I started doing paid ads, got a ton of leads on the calendar, and I went basically 10 no's in a row and just felt like I was just burning leads. And some of them were legit, some of them worked really well, would have been great for the program. And I just knew there was something off when it came to the sales calls and not getting them to convert. And so that's when we started talking and I was like, dude, I've been I mean, it got a ton of leads, people who are qualified, and I'm not closing. And one, having a ton of leads, but then also the emotional side of going through 10 no's of just back to back to back. Okay, great. Ads are working, leads are coming in, and nothing's happening. And so I knew something needed to change with the sales process.
Yeah, that's tough, right? Because people, that's the first thing they want to figure out is leads. I got to have leads. And it's really exciting. I bet you can remember when you first got your booking, like the very first booking from a paid ad, and you're like, oh my gosh, we've made it. Like the business is going to skyrocket. Everything is good. But you still have to get on the phone and close those leads, right? And it can be super heartbreaking, especially when you're spending money on the paid ads. You're doing the appointment setting, like having them fill out applications and doing all the work just to miss and miss and miss. It's obviously frustrating for sure. But you started picking up traction in February. I mean, what was your close rate by the end of February?
So thankfully we had dipped a little bit. We started working together and then we were up at around 30%. Thankfully I started getting some yeses. The first couple weeks, obviously trying to figure out how to work with the new RFPDP method and, customize it to my offer. That's obviously going to be a little bit of just touch and go figuring it out. But yeah, we jumped to 30%. And then now we're in May, we're looking at 37%. And that's also with pitching, you know, more of a higher price point too. So mainly the 2,500 offer for new people, but then going to a 4,500 offer as well. And just being more confident to pitch that and stick to that. So now I've got a few people on that number two, which is awesome.
Yeah, I remember when we first started working together, you had these two offers, and I was like, well, how do you differentiate when to pitch one and the other? You teach people how to become drone pilot business operators and scale a drone pilot business. So super sick offer, super cool. It's kind of the way of the future anyway with drones, and I think you're kind of on the cutting edge, so it's great. But you basically said if they have a 107, that's the license you need to fly drones. They should be in my $4,500 offer. If they don't have the 107, they shouldn't be, because it's just two different focuses. And obviously, your lower tiered program can transcend into your higher tiered program later on once they get the license. But I was like, okay, well, why are you selling the lower tiered offer to people with their 107? And you had said it was really just a confidence thing of like asking for that higher price. But it was a couple days ago that you posted and you got your first 4K paid in full. So
Yeah.
it's awesome to see the progression of like, should I lower my price? Like, how do I pitch the higher price? To now it's like you check the box, 4K paid in full. How'd that feel?
It was great. I mean, I had gotten some like monthlies with the higher price, but to get like a paid in full, like all the money's coming in, I'm not worried about like next month or the month after. It was really great to just have that confidence of, okay, like I'm gonna keep doing this. Like let's keep moving forward, keep building on this, and knowing the value that I bring to the one-on-one portion, the one-on-one calls and the value that they get from it. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's valuable.
Absolutely. I mean, it's got to feel good going from 10 no's in a row in January to your first 4K PIF, in the beginning of May. So it's good progress, and I'm excited for you. What would you say, like, if you had to sum it up? Because I know we did a lot of calls together. You were on almost, I think, almost every single group call except when you were in Europe with your girl, which is awesome. Super excited for you. But like, out of all of those meetings, one-on-one groups, Slack messages back and forth, like, if you had to sum it up in one main takeaway that kind of stands out for you, what would you say that kind of main takeaway of the program was?
I mean, the biggest one is definitely just the authoritative leadership that you talk about a ton. Um, and I think it's easy because I want to be personable when I'm on the call with somebody. And it's like, okay, I just sit down, I meet Austin for the first time. I'm like, how's it going? How's your life? Let's connect. But really hearing from you, like, really you need to set the stage for like the call and having that leadership right when you start it allows them to see that you're an authority figure versus like now we're friends. And I know you mentioned like when you started selling, you were like, I'm not closing anything. And then your guy was like, well, how are the calls going? And you were like, they're going great. Like everyone loves me and I'm everybody's friend. And they're like, well, people don't buy from their friends. People buy from people who they believe they're going to get results with. And that just changed my mindset a ton on like how I come to the call and my energy, my attitude. Um, I would say that's been the biggest takeaway, but there's been like a ton outside of that too. But more just having the confidence of like, this is what I'd like to do on the call. And here's basically setting the stage, setting the foundation to then have like a solid discovery. And then I would say the second thing is really just spending a lot of time in the discovery. And I think a lot of sales coaches say, yeah, you got to ask a couple questions, find a little bit of pain, and then really, really like have this crazy, amazing pitch. And that's going to sell. But it's like if you can spend like a ton of time in discovery, you just avoid a ton of objections. And the more that I do this, the more that I realize like the objections are usually the ones that I didn't ask about in discovery. It's like, okay, well, that's on me. I forgot to ask about his wife. I assumed that he was fine or, finances. It seemed like he knew what he was doing. Oh, now it's a money objection. So just having that confidence. And then also like, I mean, I'm doing like more than one, so I hope that's all right. But number three is like knowing what I can improve on in each call. Like beforehand, it was like this person didn't buy. Like, what's wrong with them? Like, why didn't it happen? Like most of the time when I get off the call and it's like, okay, how can I get better? I know exactly like what I could change to make it better. And that's just from being in the program and knowing like how to just analyze the sales call in general. So three things. Hope that's all right.
I appreciate that. I think the self-awareness isn't talked about enough, and that's the beauty of something that's done with you versus done for you. Like if I was like, "Hey Jacob, I'll just take all your calls for you. We'll make a bunch of money together." The problem is you don't learn. And
Yeah.
Austin can't be here to take your calls for you forever. And obviously, as coaches scale their businesses, the natural progression is to hire a closer or multiple closers. But if you can't close it 35, 40, 50% yourself, how can you ask a closer to do something that you've never done? You also don't know how to manage that closer and kind of what's good and what's bad. So I love that you brought up the self-awareness, because by teaching you the process and explaining the fundamentals at like really deep levels, like you said, you're like, well, I forgot it. That's on me. Where before you're like, why are you not buying? Like, what is wrong with you? And you don't know why they're not buying. Now, every single no you get, or someone doesn't show up to a follow up call, or they give you an objection at the end of the call, which does happen, right? We're not perfect. We can't close everybody, and not everybody should be closed. But at least when they don't, you know why, right? You figured it out. You know what the objection is. You're already prepared for it, and you understand what's happening. And then you can just take that feedback back into your next discovery and do a better job next time, just to keep learning and developing, even when I'm not there looking over your shoulder, which I think is super powerful.
Yeah. And just like you had said, we're fighting for the client, we're going to war for the client. And my insecurity coming in was just like, I'm fighting against this person. Like, I'm fighting for their money. Like,
Mm.
you need to be in the program, so you need to pay me. And so changing that mindset of like, look, I'm fighting for you. Like, you need to be in this program. And I just finished up with a guy who I had done a follow-up call with, and he's like, wife said no, I can't do it. And I was like, this is what we're gonna do. Like, you're gonna join the program.
Yeah.
And like, we'll start you out with 1 month. If after 30 days you hate me and never want to see my face again, like, we'll refund you, no worries. Otherwise, we're gonna spend 3 months and you're gonna make some money and like really build your business. And I just got off like a call with him after 3 months, and I was like, remember that call at the beginning when you said you didn't want to join? Like, how happy are you that you joined now? And he's like, oh, I'm so glad that I joined. And like, it was me going to war for him,
Mm.
going like, I know he's going to be better off joining the program, getting value out of it, versus like being comfortable and not spending the money.
Yeah. And it's really just a mindset shift where people are like, well, I don't want to be salesy. I'm like, well, I don't want to be a shitty human. And if I'm 100% confident and convicted that this program is what they need, I'm going to go to war and show them at every which way I can, at in every angle and every turn, however I have to show it to them that this is what they need. And realistically, the wife isn't objecting to you and your program and your credibility and your results. The wife is objecting to her husband because she's probably seen him do these things before, right? Or she just doesn't understand the value of what he's actually buying. And you have to help him, this potential client in that moment, step up and become the highest version of himself and be like, no, I am going to do this program and I am going to show my wife that I'm serious about building my drone business. And like, I'm going to stick to this. But if you don't step up for him first and elevate him to that level, then he never does. And now, 3 months later, you run into this guy on the street. Hey man, how's the drone business? Yes, still haven't got my 107. Yes, still haven't booked any jobs. Still haven't learned how to edit the video. Right? They're in the exact same spot. And I can't live like that. I can't go to bed every night knowing I'm just leaving people in the same spot because I'm too scared, afraid, or just underprepared. I'm just not equipped and I don't understand how to handle these situations and objections. Like, I can't sleep at night knowing I'm just leaving everybody stuck where they're at. Right?
Yeah. And it's just not taking it personally. I think like I could get up to 50% on the close rate. That's my goal. Like 40%, here we go. 50%, awesome. Like that still means that 50% are going to say no.
Yep.
And whether that's they're afraid they don't have the money, they're just not a good fit, whatever it is, like I just started taking it less personally
Mm.
and less having like a scarcity mindset. Like that person probably was going to turn into a bad client. You know, he would have had an amazing time in the program. Everything would have been awesome, but like maybe it's for the best, you know.
Yeah. That abundance mindset is huge.
Yeah.
And I see that all the time with people whose businesses, let's say, are less than like 30, 40K a month. It's like their expenses aren't super high, but they're high enough where they're like, I have ads, and maybe they have an appointment setter, maybe they have an operations assistant, like they have a couple softwares where they're hosting their program and communities and things like that. And it's like Lee said it best on an interview that we did. He called it commission breath. They have commission breath where they're almost so desperate to close this sale just to put food on the table and pay for the softwares and the ads that month. But when you have this abundant mindset where it's like, look, I can help you and I will change your life forever. But if you don't want the help or you're not going to do the work, that's okay too. Right. And it just keeps your program open. It keeps your bandwidth open for really good clients that are going to take your program serious, that are going to show up, that are going to do the work. You don't want to enroll someone for the sake of making a couple dollars just to be miserable later. We got into business to have businesses we love, not businesses we hate because we have a bunch of pain in the ass clients that we railed through the door to make a couple bucks when they probably should
Yeah.
never have been in the program anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the fast action discount, because I was doing that at the beginning, brings more of that type of client.
Hmm.
Where like before I started work, say again?
I forgot you were doing that, the fast
Yeah.
act. And I was like, let's go
Yeah.
in full discount so we can reward people who pay in full. I forgot. Wow. Yeah, you were doing that.
Yeah. And so it was like the first month was gonna be like instead of 850 a month, it'd be 600 if they bought on the call for the first month. And it just seemed like over the time span, because I stopped doing that after we started working together. It was like those clients gave me probably the most challenges.
Mm.
They didn't renew, they wanted a refund after 30 days. And it was like, well, part of it probably was because I was saying like act now and like this is going to work out for you and you get a discount here and then they said yes and then it didn't turn out right and it's like on average like I get way better clients even if it does take like a follow up or like we just don't talk about like I just don't pitch the fast action discount anymore and I think I get better clients from it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. So here's a curveball question for you that I'd love to know the answer to.
Let's do it.
Most people watching this don't know, but it's the middle of May, and I just booked a retreat October 3rd through 6th at a massive, massive Airbnb, and I just went down today and looked at it. It's ridiculous. It's insane. You've committed to come to that retreat. Selfishly, I'm excited because I know you're going to bring the drones and get some really cool footage, but that's not why I invited you. I hand selected who I wanted to be there. And you were like, dude, I'm all in. Absolutely. So when someone's watching this, maybe we've already had the retreat, maybe we haven't. But I guess I'm curious, like when I brought up the retreat to you, what are you really hoping to get out of it or hesitate? You're like, dude, I'm in, absolutely. Like, let's do it. So I guess I'm curious, like, what was the one thing you're like, man, if I could just get this out of that weekend, like it was worth it, or why did you want to commit to coming down to the retreat?
Yeah, good question. I think one, like, is definitely an honor for you to be like, hey, I want you to come down. And so jumping at that opportunity just to spend more time with you is awesome. Um, and I think just like the people that you surround yourself with, you specifically, like you and those people, it's like those are the type of people I want to be around. And I I mean, before I started this whole endeavor like a year and a half ago now, like I didn't know a ton of people who were kind of doing what I was trying to do and building what I was trying to build. And then I joined like, I joined another program that we're both in, and then I joined your program.
Give Jeremy a little shout out.
Jeremy Summit Acquisition. I don't know if he's changing the name, but it's fire when it comes to ads.
Yeah.
Amazing. Um, but it's like, oh my gosh, like I wanted to hit 10K a month and I see people hitting 20, 30, 100K months. You've done pretty well yourself in the program. And it's like, man, this is just like a different caliber of person.
Hmm.
And the idea that I could hang out, surround myself with 10, 11 other guys, girls who are just like crushing it with
Hmm.
their business. And I just love talking about sales, honestly, because I just want to get better.
Hmm.
Every single day, I'm thinking, how can I get better at sales? Every call that you host, record, like I watch the recording because it's just, I am not naturally good at that.
Hmm.
So that doesn't mean that I have to be bad at it though. But I just want to spend as much time as I can to get better and understand how I can get better as a closer and better as a business owner altogether. So I think just surrounding myself with you, like-minded people like you, who are just absolute killers when it comes to this space, like
And doing it
just
in person, right? Instead of just like, yes, we do
yeah.
Zoom calls all the time, multiple times a week, but I think it's going to be really special having everybody down, sitting by the pool. Like, I got some surprises for you guys that you'll figure out when you get there, but I think we'll
Mhm.
have some really special moments, and it's going to put you quite literally in the fire, where it's like you're going to leave that weekend like with crazy goals that you never have even considered, but you have full conviction and belief. And then you'll steamroll right into those goals because we're going to elevate the way that you think. We're going to elevate your goals, going to elevate just the level that you operate your everyday life at. Like, I think it's going to be really, really special. And I'm glad that you committed to coming down.
Yeah, man, I'm stoked. It was like, all right, let's freaking do it. Like, it was
Yeah.
cool because Jeremy came down to Vegas, so I got to hang out with him for a night.
Yeah.
And like we get along really well, but just like being able to ask him questions and like he's levels above me, but he understands the grind. He understands like what like and he's gone through more fires than I have. And so just being able to just like we ended up doing like a podcast, like four of us, but it was just being able to be around him, be around the guys. And so that's kind of what I'm expecting too. It's like, hey, if no one else went and just the two of us chilling by the pool for the weekend, like that would still be fire.
Big house for just two of us, but yes, that
Yeah, a little too
have a
big.
great time. So that's awesome. Well, I guess last question, like in short, somebody was considering hiring me, what would be kind of the advice you'd give to them if they were kind of on the fence?
Yeah, I'd say 100% do it. Like one, you don't know what you don't know, and chances are you're trying to get better at sales if you're even considering like the program, and it absolutely will make you way better at sales. Like you say, like it takes 7,000 sales calls to figure it out. I could do the exact same thing, and 5 years later, maybe we'd be around the same level,
Oh, for
or
sure.
I could just hang out with you for a couple months and figure it out.
That is
Like,
why my program exists because the amount of commissions I lost and the amount of no's I got and the amount of really good prospects that I lost, like I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I feel like most people probably would have given up and quit. And I think the only reason I didn't was because it wasn't my money that was being spent, right? We have to remember I didn't pay for those 7,000 calls. I was a closer on different teams and they were paying for the marketing. So it didn't hurt as bad. But if you're a coach watching this, you have to generate your own leads, whether you speak on stages, you write books, you're on podcasts, you do paid ads and funnels. Like you got to generate the lead. Could you imagine generating 7,000 leads, how much money that would cost you? And
yeah.
then continuously to close at like 5, 7, 10, 12%. Like that's enough to just shut down the business and go back to corporate. You know what I mean? It's not worth it. So that is why I created closesales.com to collapse that learning curve because I wouldn't wish what I went through on anybody. So it's like let's just collapse the time and get you to where you want to go faster. That way you can scale the business without wasting money and leaving clients stuck where they're at.
Yeah, and like when I started, so in January I started working with Jeremy, Somewhat Acquisition. He was like, you got to raise your prices. So I raised my prices, got a ton of leads, went through that 10 call like no streak. And part of it was like, oh my God, was it because I raised my prices? Like, I don't know, maybe it was. And so thankfully, I started working with you right at that point, and it's like, no, it's not the number. And you were like, your level as a coach is different than your level as a salesperson and closer. And the higher the prices of the program, the better at sales you have to be. But that doesn't necessarily change how good of a coach you are. And a lot of people are like really, really good coaches, but they're terrible salesmen. And they're like, man, I'm at 5% on my close rate. And it's like, maybe I should lower my price again. That's not going to fix it. Just join Austin's program and crush it.
Your price, I appreciate that. Your price should be in relation to the value that you bring to the marketplace. Like the money you make today is in direct proportion to the size of the problems that you solve in the market. You're helping people take the equipment that's been sitting in their garage that they spent thousands of dollars on in this dream and this fire and this passion. You're taking all of that and showing them a step by step by step exact proven process that you've used, right? It's not like you just made it up and read a book about drones. Like you still go out and do jobs. I see your Instagram story and they're beautiful jobs. You do it almost every single day. You're helping these people bring their dreams to reality. You're helping them make, if they so choose, tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars flying drones. You're teaching them how to get jobs, bid jobs, do the marketing, edit. Like it's a full comprehensive package. Why would we lower the price on that? Right? We don't need to lower the price. We just need to elevate our knowledge in the game of sales. Most coaches, like you said, are really good coaches because they're passionate about weight loss or drones or marketing or whatever it is. They've just never been formally trained in sales. That's where I come in with the RFPDP method. It's been used now to do over $100 million in sales. You've helped contribute to that 100 million. Thank you. And it's like it's proven. We just need to customize it for your offer and kind of hold your hand and walk you through it. And then you elevate your sales game. And then what tends to happen is people are like, well, shit, I'm closing at this price. My program's worth more than that. And then they just start increasing their price along with their close rate. The business just starts to grow pretty quick. So
Yeah. And the method is great, like it's bulletproof, and it's just going back to those basics of like, what do I like, how can I do a better discovery? How
mhm.
can I, like, even when we started, you were like, we did a call review and you're like, your frame is terrible. I'm like, the frame isn't important. And you were like, the frame is like everything. And I was like, crap. Because yeah, we like looked at it for like 2 minutes of like just rapport, waste of time. The frame was pretty bad. And that starts to call off. That's like the first impression.
Yep.
And it's like you got to tighten that up and you got to get way better at it. Like you got to know those words like in the frame, like like you say, if you got woken up in the middle of the night, like you could just recite it.
Yeah.
And so that's helped me a ton too, because then people are like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, let's do it.
Dude, you just see them like relax in their chair and they're like, I trust Jacob. Jacob's the man. He's going to take me to the promised land of drones. Like, and you're literally 47 seconds into the call. And they have this huge mountain of trust that they're putting you on top of literally in less than a minute. Where what you're doing when you're super friendly and you're kind of super laughy and giggly and you're talking about sports and the weather and all this random stuff that genuinely doesn't matter, and then you do like kind of a half-ass frame like, yeah, so how these calls normally go, now they're just another number to you, right? It's not like, hey, here's what I want to do with you specifically, now they feel special. You're
Yeah.
saying the same thing, you're just doing it in different words, and one makes them feel special, one just makes them feel like a number, and then you're already starting in a deficit, in quite literally a hole, and now you have to climb your way out of a hole. But most coaches do really bad discovery, so they never get out of the hole. And then people don't buy, and they're like, can you send it to me in writing? Oh, I don't have time. Oh, it's too expensive. And it's like, none of those are real objections. What they're really objecting to is, I don't trust you to solve this problem. And I'm sure as hell not going to take someone that I don't trust to solve this problem and pay them thousands of dollars, because that's a waste of money and a waste of my time. No thanks. I'm busy. Send it to me in writing. Let me talk to the wife. Like people just make up these objections, but what it really comes down to is, I don't trust you as the person to solve this problem.
Yeah.
And that's because of a poorly ran sales call that typically starts from the second people get on the call. You start cleaning that up, close rate starts to go up. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's like trust versus building the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we can have a great relationship, but if you don't trust me, you're not going to buy. I'd rather have you trust me in the first 10 minutes and we don't have like a relationship. We can get to know each other in the next 3 months in the program, right?
Yes. Yes. Like as soon as you enroll people, we can talk about wife and kids. And, like we've had calls before where I was like, hey, Jacob, completely off topic. And I'd ask you like something I was curious about drones, right? It has nothing to do with sales. Like I'm
Yeah.
not even coaching. I'm like, by the way, like that one back there versus like what's the better drone? And we're just like off topic, kind of like being friends in that moment, but you've already paid me. It's not like you don't respect me by me asking that. But on a sales call, it's different. Like you have to be the authority. We don't need people to like us. We need people to trust us. If they trust us, they will pay us. And then we have months and months and months to spend with these people and get them to like us,
Yeah.
right? You're going to leave in October from the retreat. And trust me, you're really going to like me. You're going to be like, dude, this changed my life. This is incredible. We got plenty of time. Let's get paid first. Because if they like us too soon, people don't want to buy from their friends. They want to buy from the authority. Then you never make the sale and then you never get to build that genuine relationship and connection with them.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm excited for you. We're halfway through May. You're literally pacing a record breaking month. And it's crazy because, like, where you're pacing right now is like almost to the penny double January, right? Or was it February that you were at 11?
February.
February. So,
And I was in the first week, I was in Italy still. So it's been like 1 week back and we're already double. So
you've basically done all of February's revenue in 1 week. You took a
yeah,
vacation for 1 week, worked for a week, and you're already at February's revenue, which is, I mean, I'm not surprised because I've known that you're capable of this. So I'm not surprised. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's doing it. But I am happy and I am super happy for you. I'm grateful that you trusted me to support you on the journey. And I know we're going to continue working together and doing some cool stuff together to keep elevating and growing. But genuinely, like, I'm super, super proud of you and I'm really happy to see the growth.
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for jumping on. I appreciate the time.
Definitely. You're the man.
Thanks, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.